Welcome, listeners and viewers. We present the first education-focused roadshow. This is episode 2 on vocational education opportunities in the India-Australia corridor. We are Educe Analytics, a Sydney-based research firm. We do consulting and corporate access. Education is the key to success. Increasing digitalization of education is providing new opportunities for partnerships and expansion. The recent free trade agreement between India and Australia has opened the doors for mutual recognition of professional qualifications in the two countries and a further cooperation in the education industry. So we present Professor Sunder, who will help us navigate some of the opportunities. Professor Sunder Ram Korivi is an educational policy researcher. He is the ex-founding dean and SEBI SSIR chair professor at the National Institute of Security Markets, known as NISM. He is a visiting faculty at IIM Kozhikode and IIM Amritsar, a faculty at Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, and academic head at Niranjan Hiranandani School of Real Estate. We welcome Professor Sunder on the roadshow today. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
Professor Sunder, can you please take us through the current vocational education environment in India?
Yes, thank you for this invitation. The current educational, vocational environment in India, insofar as accounting is concerned, starts at school. We have a 10+2+3 system. So 1 or 2 years before matriculation, there are vocational courses on accounting, along with vocational courses in economics or workshop technology. So there one gets a taste of bookkeeping. And then those who opt for the commerce stream, they go for the pre-university and they get further exposure to bookkeeping and accounting. Now this helps them to be bookkeepers and accountants in MSMEs, small scale units. And they are good as far as catering to small businesses are concerned. Now there they get a taste of certain higher aspects of accounting, and they pursue a Bachelor of Commerce degree with a specialization in accounting. So that is the element of vocationalization that takes place. Thereafter, there is the professionalization, where after or in the third year of graduation, they may get a taste to pursue either chartered accountancy or cost and management accountancy. So this is the way it is as far as the present scene is concerned.
So this is one example in the field of finance, and this is how it works.
Yes.
So very interesting, Professor, very similar to what we have, but very different. I remember a few months ago, I was helping an entity in Australia explore the financial education market in India. And the market is huge in India. We looked at the large market. We looked at the recent focus that the government has on skill education. As you delve deeper, we realized that there's a big difference, unlike in Australia, where major professions, including finance, have a very set vocational education system, like offering specific skills like bookkeeping or real estate, right from the senior schooling age. Now they have certificate 1s to 4 that you can do and enter the workforce, and then you can go do a diploma, and then you can do a degree and hone yourself further in that special area. In India, as you mentioned, it is a part of the course, but is there a focus on independent vocational courses, and which courses do you think, especially in the financial field, have potential?
Yes. Now, if you look at aligning the education closer to industry, then there's a very interesting setup of private tutors. One interesting element is after high school, where students have basic introduction to the principles of bookkeeping. Then there is a franchise educator called Institute of Computer Accountants, where they help you to go through accounting packages like Tally EX and Khata Book, etc. And there a person can be employed in an MSME where he is quite proficient in generating the financial statements and providing the basic data for the chartered accountant to file the tax returns or the company annual returns. So, but that is not official. Those are franchise on the private sector, Institute of Computer Accountants. Then as far as the graduation is concerned, there is a pure BCom in accounting and finance, which is actually the feed for the chartered accountancy program. Of late, there have been branches in the BCom where branches into financial markets. Those students go on to do a CFA. Then there is a branch into banking and insurance. Okay. And there is a branch which is the BBA branch. So whereas the BCom in accounting and finance is full-fledged into accounting, the others branches prepare you for a career where accounting is an element or an input, but it prepares you for a career in either capital markets or in banking and insurance. That's the way it is. Lately, what is happening is that there has been a demand from the students that while pursuing the graduation in accounting, they would like to pursue one additional program.
That additional subject that they want to do is that is what the vocational education can fill in, and they're very eager to do it, which is good to know. So the recent FTA between India and Australia, as we discussed, has proposed mutual recognition of professional qualifications, and also maybe I think it'll open up the doors for more participation in this space. You've gone through the FTA. What fresh opportunities do you see specifically for vocational education?
Yes. See, one of the advantages of India is that we are a part of the Commonwealth, just like Australia. And English is the medium of instruction. And since English is the medium of instruction, one barrier is broken. Secondly, our accounting systems are similar, our legal systems are similar. And therefore, Australian educators will find the talent to be groomable. Now, what happens is, as far as the opportunities are concerned, in the ECTA, is that there is an open window for mutual recognition of each other's qualifications, especially the accounting qualification, without further examinations, which is a good thing. Secondly, the ECTA, if you look at it holistically, then there is higher scope for international trade, for example, mining, textiles, etc. International trade gives way to international investment, which means banking and financial services will blossom. And thirdly, as a result of that, accountants will be required. And there are a number of accounting institutions or colleges, and these institutions are not restricted to Tier 1 cities. So this is a huge opportunity for the Australian entities to look at.
In our earlier conversations, Professor had mentioned about a bit of difference between the Tier 1 and the Tier 2 cities in India, and how, according to you, the vocational education opportunity will be perceived and can be explored. Can you throw some light on that?
Yes, in the Tier 1 cities, there are very well established colleges and universities where the faculty there may be content on going along with the existing flow of the traditional programs. But there are Tier 2 colleges in Tier 1 cities, and there are colleges in other cities, for example, Jaipur and Ajmer, certain BPOs have set up huge centers for accounting BPOs, whereby the accounting talent is honed. Traditionally, the accounting talent was groomed towards mass producing chartered accountants. But now they are keen on also producing accounting technicians who, apart from being useful for MSMEs, will also be useful and groomable for the huge accounting BPOs which are being set up in cities like Ajmer as well as in Jaipur. And if you look at the eastern flank of India, where Assam, state of Assam, Guwahati University has got some accounting talent. And if we ride upon the Act East policy of India, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, and the ASEAN countries, then Guwahati is likely to be the hub for Eastern trade. And a lot of the Assam government is trying to attract a lot of foreign firms, especially in the BFSI sector. And there the accounting profession will have a new thrust, as I see. So in this way, similarly, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, etc., these are traditionally cities where which was slow to take off on MBA, but accounting is very much a sought after profession.
So as I can understand, Professor, is that it's a two-way street. There is talent, especially in the financial vocational education field in tier 2 cities in India, but it needs a fill up from the industry. Like if they set up a knowledge center, or it becomes a hub, and that's where the talent can go through vocational education, join these institutions, and flourish. They don't have to go to the big cities to find work. Yes. So I think it's a very interesting point that you have raised.
Let me add one more point at this stage, is that in these tier 2 colleges of tier 1 cities, as well as in tier 2 cities, there may be some enterprising principals or directors who are looking for these institutional partnerships. And it would be nice if many of these Australian entities or their representatives contribute to the boards of studies of these schools and colleges and help in building up these partnerships.
That's a very interesting point, Professor. You have yourself been in the forefront of creating new academic pathways in India. You've helped set up the first capital market focused educational institution, NISM. And now you are partnering with a real estate focused educational institutions. You mentioned these principals, eager principals who like to partner. One issue that we face in Australia is that most Australian universities want to go to tier 1, as you mentioned, and then of course they face roadblocks. If institutions who are providing vocational education, we have a lot of these education institutions in Australia, TAFE is the premier one, they're the independent private institutions. How do they enter India? How do they seek out and then partner with educational institutions or vendors or intermediaries?
Okay. Now, I think the seminar route is a very, very effective way, because in the month of April, May, June, many of the colleges are closed for summer vacations. Likewise, there is a window during Christmas, New Year, or during Diwali, where there are semester breaks. During these semester breaks, if the Australian partners can organize some seminars, some in Western India, some in Northern India, or in cities which have relatively greater potential, these faculties can be invited for those seminars. And then you offer to be volunteers in terms of guest lectures or seminars. Then what will happen is there are enterprising students as well. And when we say tier 2 cities, the students may still be tier 1. And there is a aspiring population which will say, yes, in addition to my BCom, the moment I have a summer vacation, I can do something. Or the moment I finish my graduation, I can pick up the thread. So those are the ways in which one can enter. So in these seminars, you can invite the whole ecosystem, including principals, faculty, as well as the vendors and service providers.
Professor, in our conversation, you had mentioned earlier about students taking up very short-term vocational courses in their summer holidays and winter holidays, and then adding to their skills. Can you throw some light on what exactly those are and how do they work?
Okay. In the 3-year graduation program in India, between first year and second year, there is a 2-month gap. Between the second year and third year, there is a 2-month gap. And again, after the final year exam, before the results are declared, again, there is a 2-month gap. Okay. Now, the more enterprising students would enjoy a vacation for 15 days to 1 month, and the other month they would be looking around to do something useful. So that is the time when we introduce some certification courses. Now, at the moment, the default choice is the NISM certification. Mm-hmm. As far as accounting is concerned, there is a research analyst's certification, which one can read up in 2 months and pass the exam. As far as the chartered accountancy program is concerned and the CMA, cost and management accountants programs are concerned, these are all or nothing. You pass the full exam and you can't call yourself a member of the institute, which means there is no addition to the CV in concrete terms. Whereas the NISM certification enables undergraduate students to add to his CV during these short bursts of time. So if Australian education can be made modular, there could be certain modules which can be offered, bite-sized modules, and then have the full plate when the student finishes graduation or matures 1 or 2 years into the job. That would be the path. So I would say a modular path would be a good way.
So Professor, in Australia, what I've also witnessed is that there is I think the shortest course is a 6-month certificate 1 or certificate 2. And in that, of course, you learn the basics, but there is also exposure to the real world. So either it is in the institution or you get to work with a corporation for like a month. Like we have this in MBA as a summer internship, but we don't have this in graduation yet in India. But here they actually even do it for a 6-month course. Any examples that you have seen where this has started happening in India?
Yeah, I can give you some examples which are oblique references, but you can pick it up as a model. In many of the civil engineering colleges in India, Microsoft projects, they adopt the project management course. So Saturday afternoons, they teach Microsoft projects. And the faculty of the subject of project management is considered as an early adopter. So then these people, when they graduate, they become the adopters. Similarly, in many of these stock market oriented electives in MBA or BBA in India, Bloomberg has set up a terminal. So these people become early adopters. So like that, some of the big 4 accounting firms also have an informal MOU with some of these colleges and say, okay, if these certifications are acquired by the students, then we may adopt them for recruitment in the accounting BPOs. Okay, then it becomes a partnership between the institute and the college. And the colleges are also happy to show that this is a serious attempt at vocationalization. So by vocationalization, we mean there is not just 1 week in which there is campus recruitment taking place, but there is an engagement between the large recruiters and the faculty team and adoption of a course or an elective. And then the students enroll into these programs. So there's an institute, there is a big 4 accounting firm, and there is a faculty team and the principal.
Thank you, Professor, for outlining that. So we had one question on email, very specific. So the question was, in Australia, it is often a requirement for a entry-level job or a specific job that you should have a given level of vocational education. So it might specify we need certificate 3 for Australia, certificate 4, or we at least need a diploma. And this is not like undergraduate education. This is before undergraduate education. As far as I understand, this is not the situation in India right now. You have been part of panels which has recommended educational policies to governments. Do you think that this is something which could be in the offing?
Yes, it could be in the offing. Right now, there is no such standardized test insofar as accounting is concerned, because the BCom degree is considered good enough. Some of the companies, and this is left to the departments of the company, the accounting departments of the companies, they have their own entrance test.
Okay.
So before, suppose they receive large number of applications for a job, then what happens is they have a simple test which they use as a screener, because many times the syllabus is outdated, and the companies would like to ensure that they get what they want. So to find students or candidates who are more groomable, they have their own entrance test, but there is no centralized standard setting institution.
So I think that's something which, of course, can revolutionize.
Some years back, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India had recognized that everybody doesn't need a full-fledged chartered accountant, especially employers. So they thought of having a certified accounting technician who is a semi-qualified CA, but who will be workable insofar as the SMEs are concerned and the employers are concerned. So something similar, but more globally accepted.
I think that's very insightful. I think policies change, it takes time, but I think eventually we will be
looking at
that. There's one more question, Professor Sunder, on email is regarding technology in education. So, of course, COVID, the whole pandemic, we have seen a big shift in online classes, virtual classes. Now, for institutions in Australia to impart education in India and vice versa, even if they, as you mentioned, they can have partnerships with colleges and universities in India. How do you think the technology could help in that integration?
Yes, right now, I would say the blended model is here to stay. Technology was a compulsive substitute for online education. And I would say there is a blurring in the lines. Earlier, for example, chartered accountancy, CFA, CIMA, etc. These are high quality distance or self-study courses. Self-study courses, but high quality. Then we had the in-classroom university education. Okay. Now we have the online. Now, online is a bit of both, because you can see the faculty, there is an interaction. It is not distance learning, it is somewhere in between. So blended learning is part of life now. So I can say you can still have the physical face-to-face or the online learning, and the tutorials and the exercises can be put to technology. So the tutorials and exercises can be put through to technology. And the case studies and the live demonstration of the technique, etc., can be through live classes. And there are two pools of students which you may consider. One is the ones who are in college. There is also a large number of aspirants who have completed their graduation, but not been able to take up higher courses of study due to family reasons or economic compulsions. They are in employment. They are very skilled insofar as accounting is concerned. After all, they work for companies which are audited by the Big Four. Okay. Now, they need a lift in life, a second lease of life in their education. Now they will look up to these kind of programs.
Yeah, I think thanks for that, Professor, because we see in Australia also, due to the pandemic, I think vocational institutions are offering face-to-face and offline models and online face-to-face mixed models altogether. And I think it's a good world for students here because they can pick and choose what they want to do. So I think that's the way forward. With that, I think we are close to our time, Professor. So thank you very much for helping us understand the vocational education environment in Australia and in India and how the FTA could work. Today, we did focus on finance, but I think as we speak later. We are trying to explore real estate as a industry where vocational education would work. And I think as of my conversations with you, also mentioned insurance is a big player.
Banking, insurance, capital
Yeah,
markets, these are all branches. Yes.
that's where we could do. So of course, we will follow up on that. And thanks again, Professor, for giving your time.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening.
Thank you. All the best.